You guys okay? Okay. Let's watch Tenet. Welcome to Movie Masterminds. My name is Patrick.
I'm Xavier.
And I'm Zion.
And today we're going to be reviewing Christopher Nolan's recent release called Tenet. And if you don't know Christopher Nolan, Zion is going to tell you a little bit about him. But it was released in theaters. It was one of the biggest movies to come out because there hasn't been many releases because of COVID. And this movie came out, I think, about 2 or 3 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, in the theaters. And then recently went to HBO Max, so that's why we watched it, because we have an HBO Max free subscription. We have that, so that's why we watched it, just like the Justice League and some of these other movies, because we're not paying some of these movies to go to the theaters, no, unless we had a free Tuesdays, because $5 Tuesdays is a deal, but that's another story. Anyway, so Zion, if you could please start us out, tell us just a little synopsis. What is this movie Tenet about?
So Tenet is directed by the same guy, Christopher Nolan, that directed Inception, which we also did a review on. But so this movie is sort of based around the idea that you can sort of invert an object or a person or even the entire world's time, which causes like the bystander to sort of see it going in reverse. It's sort of a confusing concept, and it's sort of in the movie there just to be there almost, and just so it makes the movie interesting yet also super duper confusing. So mostly throughout the movie we just try not to think about it.
Yeah, and one of the characters says that at one point when they're talking about the time travel. I think the character says it's almost like an Avengers Endgame where they said that, like, just don't worry about it. And they're like literally telling the audience, don't think about this too hard because it's we don't know either. And yeah, so we'll get to this movie. I think we can say it was better than, I mean, we'll do rating later, but I think it was better than probably Kong versus Godzilla. It was better than Justice League. It was a real, like, watching this was a film.
Yes.
This was not a movie. This was a film. It feels like an experience, I feel like. Like, if you go to the cinema and watch it, if you go to the movie theater, I feel like you'll have an experience and really enjoy that, seeing some of the stuff just on a big screen. Regardless of the story, regardless of anything else, it feels like a film that really has that experience to it. Xavier, what do you have to add on to it? Anything you think you want to add on to that synopsis?
I mean, one of the other things they brought in was that they could time travel with this thing called, what was it called?
It was called a turnstile, I believe.
Yeah, like the ones at the subway, yes.
And basically when you went into this, your entropy would be inverted or exverted, or whatever you say for that.
Inverted or just, I don't know if there's...
Is there an opposite for inverted?
Reverted?
Reverted?
I'm not sure. I think reverted, yeah.
So when you went into that, then you'd have that happen. So it was kind of a confusing movie, but it held. I think it was an okay movie.
Yeah, I think I have to watch it again probably, because I was as you guys know, I shouldn't have said this when we were watching, because I was not in on it. As I was interested, I actually wanted to see it. I was actually going to buy it like a couple months ago, and we were going to watch it. I was thinking about doing that, and then it was like $20, and I was like, no, I'll wait and see until it goes into the cheap seats, and then I'll go watch it. But I was going to watch it, and then watching it even now, it's like I think I have to go back and see it again just to kind of pick up, because I feel like there's stuff that's there that they had. But I told you guys as we were watching it, I was not... There was things that were like turning me off right away. But I do feel like it redeems itself by the end. By the end, I was like, oh, okay, oh, this is okay.
Well, I
And
mean-
you guys explained some of the stuff
Yep.
to me, and I was like, oh, okay, well that makes
Yeah.
more sense now.
And I
But
think
we'll talk about the things that maybe I didn't like or
Easter
you guys
eggs.
didn't like. Yeah, but anyway. So let's just start out. First thing with this movie, I guess we'll talk about like what was maybe your favorite scenes in this movie.
Well, I sort of have mine picked out. It's sort of a grouping of two scenes that is, I think, actually like basically the same scene. So, there's this scene when they're at the airport. The first scene that had happened, he wasn't inverted, so time was going his direction. So
Spoilers, by the way.
yes,
Spoilers.
major spoilers here.
Wah, wah.
But so time was going his direction, and he's fighting this guy that is inverted, and they're fighting each other, and it was just kind of a cool battle because the guy that was inverted was obviously, it looked like he was going backwards, so he was actually able to like do midair flips and stuff. When in reality, if you go later in the movie, you actually find out it's the same exact guy. So he's actually fighting himself.
It was
and because
tricky.
he's inverted, he's actually going the opposite direction. So it's sort of very confusing, yet it's kind of cool to see. I just thought it was sort of an interesting scene that they were like fighting each other and there was stuff like that going on.
Well, actually, he wasn't fighting himself. He was fighting the other guy, and the other guy was fighting him. That was where I got confused. I think I had to watch that again because remember the scene, he chases the guy and fights him, and the other guy runs off, and that's where he,
Well, it's
because the other guy catches him, and rips his mask off or whatever, right? And then
no.
you see,
So
in
I
the
think-
airport scene, the protagonist fights himself.
oh, by the way, I don't think we know the character's name, right?
I don't think he's the protagonist
through the whole movie.
I'm pretty sure that's like what he's
And
referenced as.
I'm not sure. Maybe there's something really deeper there with that naming of the character. Watching it, I wonder if it's just like kind of lazy or something. Like, well, we don't got a name for him. What's called the protagonist, but maybe there's something more like meta or more like story-wise. Maybe when you can analyze it a little more deeply. And I guess some of the stuff at the end, when I wonder if maybe they just had the protagonist and then they didn't know a name, and then by the end of the movie, it was like, well, we don't need a name. We're gonna just have this cool stuff happening to him.
And I mean, kind of going off, what you said, maybe it's like just because we obviously find out sort of near the end that he's actually working for himself from the future, so it's...
Big time spoilers here, by the way. Just
it's like...
save that stuff, maybe. But back to that scene, though. In that scene, because who's Robert Pattinson's character? What's his name?
Neil.
Neil chases him down and pulls the mask off of him, and he runs off. And the other guy that the protagonist is fighting must be Neil, because Neil's the one that goes through that thing, goes through the thing by the airplane.
The turnstile.
No, the door. Remember, he goes out the door that's broken by the airplane. So he was not fighting himself; he was fighting the other guy. And I called that one when we watched that. I bet he's gonna be fighting himself.
Well,
But-
he was fighting both people. When he was
'cause
inverted,
he was fighting himself because then he went to the turnstile, so they were actually flipped. That's why they came out of the turnstile.
Yeah, but no, when he ran off, because the future him ran off, and then Neil chased him and pulled the mask off.
Yep.
Yep,
That was.
But then
that
the
was,
fight still continued.
That's because
That was the non-inverted version of him.
yeah. So
No,
what?
that was the inverted one because he had the suit on.
Yep,
He
but
had
he didn't
the
need the
suit on-
suit because
yeah.
remember they were inverted and that's why they were going to the airport was because they needed to come out uninverted. So they were fighting
So-
each other. It's very confusing, but like the times because
I got to rewatch that.
Yeah,
the two of
so-
them were in suits and they must have been fighting, right? The two of them were in suits and must have been fighting, and he was fighting. He was not
Well,
fighting
the
himself.
reason-
the two suit guys were the same exact person.
Yeah, but the reason it looked like there were two people.
Different people was because of the fact that they were going through the turnstile. One
Can
of
I
them
finish my
was
sentence?
inverted.
Go ahead.
the reason it looked like that when we were watching it the first scene is because they explained it later. When you look through the window, you see the future, what's going to happen after
yes,
you
I
go
see,
through the
yes.
turnstile. So that's what the protagonist was seeing at first, was he was seeing the future him going through the turnstile and fighting Neil.
It's very confusing.
I gotta watch it again. I think I'm confused by it. I think I asked you guys in that when we were watching it. I was like, I don't know. There's something. Maybe I'll watch it again and maybe I'll understand and like it more. But I did call that. I did say he was gonna be fighting himself. So I said that early when we watched that first. I bet you he's gonna fight himself. But they did maybe a good job of twisting that a little bit. But let's not try and get angry about getting our opinions out there, guys. This is supposed to not be. This isn't like ESPN where they're yelling at each other all the time. Okay. So what do you think, Xavier? Your favorite scene?
I like the intro scene, which I guess was kind of grouped into two scenes. It could have been grouped into two scenes. The opera siege.
Okay.
Stay.
No friends at dusk, huh?
Because there was a lot of Easter eggs in there, A, and B, it was just cool to kind of go back and watch it after to see what everything was doing, why people were acting the way they were acting almost.
Okay.
And I think this is a movie that everything sort of connects to everything. So if you're paying really close attention, you'll notice all these small details that they put in that connect later in the movie that kind of go along with the whole time traveling thing, I guess.
Like when in the beginning they had the inverted person who brought the bullet back, and if you looked closely enough, they did zoom up, and you saw that it was Neo protecting protagonist because he had to save the world. And I was confused. Would that mean that the protagonist is just going on a loop? Because in the beginning they said that, spoilers, but they said that Kate saw herself jumping off of the boat, but
Well,
then
she didn't say she saw herself. She saw somebody.
yeah,
jump
but that
on the
was herself. So are they going in a loop? Because then later you find that and you see herself. So would it just be a giant loop?
I don't think so, because the one who's jumping off the boat is from the future, so now they're following the timeline differently, I suppose.
I don't know. I think that's what they were saying also, was that there is like because Neil asked him those questions too. Neil was like, "What do you think of this?" And they had the whole speech about, like, I think every time travel movie talks about the
Time pincer.
no, every time travel movie tries to explain the logic of their time travel. 'Cause every movie's a little, like Back to the Future is different than some other movies, and each movie has a different sort of physics for their time travel, since we don't have time travel that we know of. And so each movie explains it, and this movie Neil was explaining it to him and trying to talk to him about it, I think.
I also liked the scene where they're explaining the kick the grandpa off the...
Oh yes, the grandfather paradox.
The grandfather paradox.
Where... That's an interesting theory.
It's an actual paradox, by the way.
Yeah, but basically they're saying that if you went back in time and killed your grandfather, would he really die? And if he did, then wouldn't you not exist? So
You couldn't kill your grandfather.
Yeah.
so then he'd be alive, but then you could. So it's confusing.
And there's been a lot of movies made about these kind of things. Every movie, again, the physics or the
logic behind
works
time
differently
travel.
for time travel. It is interesting, Xavier, you say that, because it's as you watch it and you see, like, oh, we're revisiting these scenes again, but now the perspectives change. That's kind of cool. I mean, that's an interesting concept for a movie itself.
Well, the end fight scene also did that a lot more, switching between the red team and the blue team. And it was kind of odd because when the blue team first got dropped off, you saw that car was moving. And then later, a little bit later, you saw that in the car was Neil, and he was driving, trying to get the guys out. So it was
very
interesting to
interesting.
see.
Yeah, it was a fun movie, though. I mean, for that part, and I think cinematically, there was some good things happening in terms of cinematically, camera-wise, direction. Like, I think some of my favorite scenes, just a lot of those action set pieces were. I think that the beginning of that highway scene was fun.
Check the radio, check.
And then when he got on the fire truck and stuff, I got a little pulled out because it was, but it had a very like, because Christopher Nolan also directed Inception and Dark Knight Returns or Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, and what was the other one? The Dunkirk. He's directed like these huge film movies where they put them in what's that big movie format they have for IMAX. Yeah, he does a lot of not many directors get to do IMAX because it's so expensive to shoot on it, but he's one of those directors who does. So like you can see some of those scenes where it's like this is like cool to see the way it moves, and it just feels like there's energy to everything. Like in Inception, you remember that big last scene where it had all this energy, kind of this tension building between the cuts and scenes and stuff, and you feel like, oh my gosh, something's happening, even if it's not really. It's kind of like, what? You're not sure what's going on. It's still like feels like stuff is happening, and you don't need all the action.
Well, you could also tell in this movie and Inception too, which scenes were really important. I think in this movie it was that if they were important, they'd come back to it, and the protagonist would be time traveling, or Neil would be time traveling. Like the heist scene. They showed after that it was really the protagonist in the drop-off car, and that it was really cool to just see how the different things connected almost, because like from one perspective it looks like, oh, we're winning, but then on the other side it's like, oh no, we're losing.
Yeah, and I think that was, like I said, that kind of like twisting and seeing both sides and coming back. Like when they revisit, it's almost like a sandwich of a movie. Each side is like something's happening, and as it goes on, each of these scenes is going to repeat, but going backwards. But I still just like the thing I liked about it was just watching and seeing like it's different than when we watch Iron. Like Iron Man doesn't have scenes like this movie has. Iron Man has action, but it's always just like. It's not like the camera's moving in a certain way that makes you feel what's going on, or like the music is building a certain way. It's really like kind of like Marvel stuff is kind of their cookie cutter stuff. It's like, oh, we're going to put this here, and it's going to look cool. But this is more like well planned out. And of course, I told you guys, like the plane scene was, I'm guessing must have been a miniature at the very least, if not a real plane. And a bunch of other scenes in there are like, that's real stuff, real bombs going off, real driving, real stuff happening. So it's like you can feel what's going on a lot better. And that's one thing I do like about watching his movies is just that it does feel like something is there. It's tangible. It's not like cartoons fighting each other. So how about what about for your characters? What kind of characters did you enjoy in this movie? Who was the character you enjoyed the most?
My personal favorite was probably the protagonist.
I ordered my hot sauce an hour ago.
Just because of the fact that he is the protagonist, and he is he's sort of the center of it all, and I think that just makes him interesting, how everything both in the future and the past sort of revolve around him throughout the movie. Both him finding out that he's like the boss in the end, and it's just very confusing, but also at the same time like pretty interesting.
Okay.
I like Neil.
Ives! Wait.
You're really going back in?
I'm the only one who could have got that door open in time, right, Ives? I don't know any locksmiths as good as you.
See? It's me in there again.
Because it felt like protagonist didn't really know what was going on, but Neil did.
Almost.
Almost, yeah.
I agree. I thought I liked Neil the best because even when he didn't know what was going on, he was just. I like the character better. I didn't really like the wife. I've seen her in a couple other movies, I think, and she does the same thing in every movie. She's like the damsel in distress kind of. I feel like, and it's like I feel like I think she was in The Night Manager, which you guys never saw, but it had Tom Hiddleston who played Loki. Mm-hmm. And she was in that, and it was like the same exact role. Like, her husband is this evil guy, and she's got to betray him, and it's like, I've seen her do this before, and it's like, But I think Neil was like, there aren't many characters.
There's
the Russian and his bodyguard, who's just a tall guy.
Volkov.
And the wife, and the protagonist, and then
Neil.
And then there's like...
There's 6 characters that are actually seen more than once throughout the movie.
Well,
but I mean, in terms of like who actually has some... Like, there's the soldier guy, but he comes later, and he doesn't really do much except we're doing soldier stuff, you know? And then... Otherwise, they have like the other minor characters who are kind of helping out, but the only ones that really do something significant or have significant lines and stuff are those characters.
Oh, and they had the Priya, the rich guys.
Yeah, the Indian lady, which I didn't.
It felt kind of unnecessary.
That was where I got confused. Was just like, I never understood, like, it didn't feel like they knew who was responsible for all this, and they didn't. They just kind of kept switching it up and doing these twists. But I feel like if you go back and watch it, there's some gaps there.
Speaking of Priya, at the end of the movie, I had a theory that the protagonist, when Priya was going to kill the wife, Kat, she had the phone and she called, but I think that she died first, and then he went back in time because he was too late, but he saw the car driving away, and he went back in time, and they only showed him going back in time and stopping.
Maybe. I mean,
because otherwise, how would he know the exact position of the car?
I think...
Well, she told him that there's one across the street or something.
Yeah, but I think it was the pincer thing. So when he got the call, he actually got the call in the future, I guess. And then he was able to go back and sort of do a pincer movement.
Well, I guess it goes back to like Back to the Future. There's this theory on Back to the Future that actually they failed a huge number of times, and Doc kept going back until he could get it right, basically. So there's this theory that the one we see is not the first time it's happened. So maybe that, I mean, depending on how that time travel works, we don't know.
It's time travel.
I will say, I mean, the protagonist took me out of the movie a little bit when I was watching it, because I can't explain why, except for when he was like delivering his dialogue, it felt like he was speaking from a script, and when the other characters delivered their dialogue, it felt like they were characters, and he felt like
he felt like he was an actor reading from a script.
Like there's so many times like he just knows things, and he didn't know it before. But suddenly he's just like, well, I know this and this. And he's like,
yeah, when he first met Neil, it felt like that. Like, you could see he was stating exactly what the doctor had told him. And, like, people have good memory, but they don't memorize stuff in 10 seconds.
He goes from, like, a high school physics student to a physics professor.
Yeah, and just a lot. It just keeps happening through the whole movie where he doesn't know what's going on. He, like, in the beginning, we understand, like, he doesn't know what's happening, but suddenly he's, like, walking into situations and just like controlling them somehow, and it's like, how is he doing that? And I felt like also his dialogue specifically, it didn't feel natural, whereas everybody else's did. I mean, just like what was written, I feel like was not really well written. It was more like something, because he would like say something back to the person, well, I don't really like this, and it was just, it didn't feel like something someone would say. So I didn't really, he pulled me out of the movie at the beginning. And he's a younger actor. Actually, his dad's Denzel Washington, who's a famous actor. You guys haven't seen any movies with him, I don't think, yet, though. But I do feel like he's just a younger actor, and maybe this was like a really big role for him to be the lead in one of the bigger movies of this year, and I don't think it was maybe the best choice. Maybe they could have found some other actor, like maybe Michael B. Jordan, the guy who played what did Michael B. Jordan play?
Finn.
No, Michael B. Jordan played Warmonger. Or before he passed away, this might have been a perfect role, I think, now that I think about it.
Oh, Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman might have been just amazing in this movie, I feel like, because he's just like a better actor.
But he also makes, like, I think if anybody else played that, Chadwick Boseman just makes the lines feel natural almost.
Exactly. I mean, that's my point. Like the actor in this, John David Washington, I think is his full name, but he was in like the HBO TV show about football. It's like about football players, and I watched that and I was like, okay, yeah, he can do that, kind of. But then I'm not sure what else he was in, and I think now that I think about it, I think that sadly with Chadwick Boseman passing, I do think he would have been the best. He would have been amazing. Now that it's like that'd be cool to see him doing this, or Michael B. Jordan would be okay. But I think Chadwick Boseman just has the skills for it, I guess somehow. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, that's my one thing that pulled me out of the movie quite a bit. Although Neil I thought was really good, and I like the scenes like at the end when he comes up, he's like, "Hey, we're still good buddies," and he delivers this little monologue to him about how we're gonna meet again, and they're kind of setting up another movie almost. And like when he was talking about that, I was like, "That's cool. I want to see that."
He said, "I'll see you at the beginning," because because Neil's going to see.
Because it's the end of their friendship for Neil, but it's only the middle.
No, it's
beginning of the friendship.
No, it's the end of the friendship for protagonist, but it's Neil is going to go back in time and save protagonist again. So he's just.
No, I think you're saying because protagonist is going to go back in time and he has to still meet him and bring him into it.
Because the protagonist, I think, is supposed to be like the founder of Tenet. I think.
Yeah. And the whole thing, Tenet, is like their group or something.
There's one group that's trying to find this weapon which can invert the entire Earth, I guess. Mm-hmm. That was created obviously in the future, but the person who created it thought it would be too powerful, so it got broken up into 9 pieces and then sent back into the past. Mm-hmm. But the future, they want to get it and I guess use it on the past. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get it, whereas Tenet is this group that's founded at the same time. They're trying to get those pieces and send them even back farther into time.
So I have to watch it again because I'm so confused. So anyway, so that's kind of like the beginning of the movie. Just kind of seeing what we saw. Now let's go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Neil's going to go back in time and save him in the inverted suit. He's going to save the younger protagonist in the beginning of the movie.
True, but he's saying, when he says, I think when he's saying this is the beginning because the protagonist is going to go and still bring him into Tenet. That's what I think. That's what it felt like he was referencing. Although both ways he's still referencing that, but
it's confusing.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. We're going to do a quick quiz. Again, I have a different kind of quiz here. We'll say that if you can answer these questions without any hints, you get double points, but we're going to see how many points total we can get. We're not seeing who's going to win because it's all the same team. Yes, the team has to win. Movie Masterminds has to win this. So I'll tell you the line, and you tell me what the next line would be. If not, I have a list of lines here that I'll read off for you. So who wants to start out with the first one? The first one's hard. Okay, so it says, "Well, sir, our clients use us because we have no priorities above their property." What's the next line? If you get close to it, roundabout.
Huh?
If you can get close to it, I'll accept it. Here's the choices. No, you don't. Pays to be in our profession. Whoa. Ample. It's not Estonian, it's backwards. I've messed around on boats. You won't be taking my call. Goya. I don't know any locksmiths as good as you. I'll be there too. Blimey. And there are no friends at dusk. What? He wants to see me without pants? I'm not the man they send to negotiate or the man they send to make deals, but I am the man people talk to. See, like that line right there.
Yeah.
Fighting fire with fire is a treacherous business. That part is a little dramatic. If you don't work with us, you're dead. The detritus of a coming war. Posterity, and Fate.
I think I know it.
Do you want to pass over to Zion?
No.
Okay, take a guess.
I'm not the man they sent to negotiate.
That's not it. Okay, ready, Zion. Here you go.
Oh.
Here's yours. We live in a twilight world.
And there are no friends at dusk.
And there are no friends at dusk.
Why'd you get the easy one?
We're on a team. Okay, next. Oopsie. Here, today, how did you know?
What? How am I getting all the hard ones?
I don't know. Any guess? Take a guess.
Ooh, I think I know this one too.
Okay, I'll let Zion do it and I'll get the next question.
I think it's posterity.
Posterity is correct. Oh.
What?
How about this one? Do you sail?
Ooh, I know this one too.
What? How do you know all of these? Why do I get all the hard ones? Seriously.
This one I know. I remember this one. He says, do you sail? I'll give you a hint. The Russian asks, the protagonist says, do you sail?
No, I messed around on boats.
I've messed around. Yes, okay. I've messed around on boats. That's good. Okay, how about Zion? You're well informed.
Oh, I know this one.
What are my options?
No, you don't. Pays to be in our profession. Whoa. Ample. It's not in Estonian. It's backwards. You won't be taking my call. Goya. I don't know any locksmiths as good as you. I'll be there too. Blimey. What? He wants to see me without pants? I'm not the man they send to negotiate or the man they send to make deals, but I'm the man people talk to. Fighting fire with fire is a treacherous business. That part is a little dramatic. If you don't work for us, you're dead. The detritus of a coming war and fate?
I'm gonna pass to Xavier. I don't know this one.
It pays to be in our profession.
It pays to be in our profession. That's right. Oh, good job. Okay, ready, Zion. I wasn't informed of any appointments today, Mr.
I know this one. Can I
Goya.
answer it?
Goya. There we go. Okay. Look, my friend, guns are never conducive to productive negotiation.
Ooh.
I'm not the man. I'm not the long one, the really long one.
I'm not the man they send to negotiate
Yes.
or the man they send to make deals, but I'm the man people talk to. Okay, good. You said they spoke Estonian, or you said you spoke Estonian.
It's not Estonian. It's backwards.
Oh.
That's the
All
car.
right.
That's the highway
Uh-oh.
scene.
What happened? It reset. Oh, what did we get? We have to keep count of it.
We got like all of them right.
I don't know why it's messing up. Hold on. This is
Technical difficulties.
yes, technical difficulties is right.
I know the
Okay.
first one.
What is the first one?
The first one was no, you don't.
Okay, we got that one. You said they spoke Estonian. Ah, okay. Well, how big a plane?
Ooh, I know this one.
Wait, what are the answers?
You won't be taking my call. What? He wants to see me without pants? I've messed around on boats. It's not Estonian, it's backwards. I don't know any locksmiths as good as you. Whoa. I'm not the man they send to negotiate, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, that part is a little dramatic.
A little dramatic?
Yeah, that part is a little dramatic. I remember that one. Cause
That's when the
All right.
guy's talking to him about that.
Anna said we're going to Pompeii and to see lava.
Oh, I know this one.
And to see lava. What's
I think this is kind of weak. This is a weak line in the movie. I don't think.
I know this one.
What is it?
I'll be there too.
I'll be there too. Okay. There's a number in your left coat pocket. Don't call me from home.
Oh, I know this one. I think. Yeah, I know this one.
What are my options?
You won't be taking my call. What? He wants to see me without pants.
You won't be taking my call.
Okay. When did they say that?
That was the restaurant fight scene, the second fight scene in the movie.
I forgot that was a good scene. That was a cool action
Yeah.
scene. To see him just beat the heck out of those guys. 45 seconds.
Ooh, I think I know this one.
Okay, you get it.
Ample?
Ample. Okay, there we go. I resign.
Ooh, I think...
If you don't work for us, you're dead.
If you don't, I don't think so. Oh, is it? There you go. Okay. You have a turnstile, the very technology we're trying to suppress.
Fighting fire with fire is a treacherous business. That's the boat scene.
You're not shooting the bullet, you're catching it.
Posterity.
That's not it. We already answered that.
He wants to see you now.
What, he wants to see me without pants?
Well, I prefer soda water. I remember this scene. This was the...
Ooh, actually, okay.
Well, I prefer soda
No,
water.
you don't.
What do you think we're seeing?
I know this one.
The detritus of a coming war.
I'm the only one who can get that door open in time. Right, Ives?
I don't know any locksmiths as good as you.
There we go. What happens, happened. What's happened, happened. Which is an expression of faith in the mechanics of the world, not an excuse to do nothing.
Fate. Question mark.
Okay. Well, sir, our clients use us because we have no priorities above their property. Oh, we did this one already. That was, Zion said.
No, I was wrong. So,
I don't know what this one is.
This one was posterity, I think.
nope. Because posterity was the one,
That one I don't know.
Try posterity.
it's not posterity.
Well, it's not pays
He
to
did
be.
posterity already.
Yeah.
Which one
I
was
think
it?
it's blind.
Pays to be in our profession? No.
We live in Twilight
That's
World.
no. I know what it is.
Okay, I think we got them all. We finished them all up.
No, I know what
Which
we
one?
live in a Twilight World is.
No, we did that one already. Okay, so I don't know what we got on our quiz. I think we missed like 3 or 4 maybe. So
No,
we'll
we missed none. We won.
I don't know if we won. Okay, so thinking about this movie, what was I thinking?
Thinking
What
about
are you
this
thinking?
ratings.
We want to do our ratings for this movie?
Yes.
Watch the table
Yeah.
bangs.
All right.
I give it
So S A B D A B C D F.
A B C D E F.
There's no E.
Well, again, how about this? Let's look at what are 3 things that you like about this movie, like character or plot or whatever. What are the 3 things you really like about this movie?
Personally, I think one of my favorite things are definitely a lot of the stunts and stuff that were done.
I like
I
the
think-
stunts.
Hold on.
They felt, I'm guessing, like you said, the airplane scene was at least a miniature, but like you said, it very well might have been an actual airplane that they used. So that part was cool. Like the highway scene was really cool, and I think just a lot of that stuff, obviously, it made it feel more sort of real, and you felt the stakes a bit more.
Okay. Xavier, what do you have to add on? So you like the special effects too?
Yeah, I like the
You mean
special.
stunts?
Or same thing.
Yeah,
Special
I mean-
effects and stunts, yes. Yes, Xavier?
I like the special effects, and I like the what are they called? Not the characters, but I forgot what they're called.
I would agree. I think the best part of the movie, I think my number 2 is probably special effects. I thought that the special effects, the stunts, that stuff being, like you said, being real.
Oh, I remember it. The trippiness of all the stuff that was happening almost. Like the walking, and it was almost like a mystery, kind of.
Okay.
The mystery of the movie.
And I did like that part too. Like the backwards stuff was all like
interesting.
Well, it wasn't. I don't think. I think they used like actual standard. What's the word for it? Not standard effects? But they didn't. I don't think they used any kind of computer stuff for that. I think they did like actual
stunts.
Not stunts, but like for the backwards stuff, I think it was actually like real stuff. It wasn't like using CGI to construct people or do something else.
It was like a puppet almost.
Not a puppet. I think it was like
actual person just
actually like reversed footage, and they just kind of played with stuff to get stuff to look a certain way. Because it did feel like when they're doing that stuff, it felt like, oh, this is kind of different and weird, and it actually kind of brought you into the movie. So I like that part of it, like having that realism to it in terms of not using. Again, I don't believe they use if they use computer stuff, I don't think they used a lot of it. I think a lot of it was they have a word for it, and I can't remember the word. But like real special effects and real stunts and stuff like that, and all the backwards stuff too. Like that part where he gets sucked out of the door. That's just. It looked like that was just literally like they rewound the footage.
Uh-huh.
Wait here. I'm going in.
To show that, but then they incorporated with the regular footage, and it looks like. I'm guessing maybe they choreographed stuff where they were doing stuff backwards.
Yeah,
is my guess.
It was interesting, and it really worked well with this movie, just because of the fact that obviously it shows it from both perspectives. It's not like you're just seeing the enemy that's inverted. You're actually seeing it from both perspectives, regular and inverted.
Okay, so Xavier, what about you?
What's
another part of this movie that you enjoyed?
Probably the characters. I mean, besides protagonists, I think that they were set up pretty well.
Yeah, I like I said, the only one I really was interested in through the movie was Neil. The Russian felt like scary Russian bad guy.
Yeah.
Just like a cookie cutter bad
Hydra.
guy. Yeah, like something like just he's a foreign bad guy. They tried to, I don't know, and I was confused at how he was the bad guy, what he wanted. Again, we talked about maybe a little bit, like I don't know why he was doing what he was doing. I don't understand. I think there was something I missed in it that I had to watch again.
They said at the end that he was going to die anyway, so that he wanted
to take the world with him, I guess.
And that I don't understand. The motivation was not there.
Or like his back, they mentioned like how he got to where he was and like his background with like living in a Soviet secret city, and it was like all very confusing.
What were you gonna say, Xavier?
The reason he wanted to do it was because he was going to die soon, so he wanted to basically pay his debt almost, to like do something good for the future, so that if they ever find they'll thank him basically for doing that. That's what he said he was trying to do.
Yeah, and then I guess this part sort of runs into the grandfather paradox, because the future's the reason he was able to get like the money and resources necessary. So if he does invert the entire world, they said that'll kill everybody. That will literally wipe out everybody living on Earth. So wouldn't that wipe out the future as well? And, it was
his motivation was not really.
Yeah, it wasn't. His
character
wasn't super well. It wasn't super well constructed.
So yeah, I mean, if you like the characters, that's cool. I just thought like the only one I really liked a lot was
Neil.
And the others were just.
You didn't like Volkov.
He didn't do anything.
He just punched people. He didn't even talk once.
Yeah, he just walked up and
started punching.
And then he got beat up at the end. It was just kind of like, Like I feel like most of the time he was.
Who was the old guy? The British old guy?
Yeah,
Sir somebody.
That was Michael Caine. He was also in Batman, the Batman trilogy. He was Alfred. But I think he didn't do much, and he didn't really. It was just again a lot of lines that they were saying.
Were just kind of meh.
Like I feel like the struggle that this movie had, and it was a good movie, but the struggle it had was that it was explaining so much of the logic and so much of the science and physics of this world to you, and it just did it by having the characters tell you things. And It was like he walked in, he doesn't know what's going on, and they'd be like, well, here's how this works. And then they walked in, here's how this works. And it's like, and I think interestingly, though, by the end, I didn't need all that explanation. It was kind of cool as we saw it. It was like, oh, now I'm seeing how this works a little bit better. Now it makes sense. I don't need you to tell me all this nonsense about inversion and blah, blah, blah. So it felt like a textbook at times, maybe. That was maybe also the dialogue feeling a little rocky. So Zion, what else did you like about this movie?
So I think my second favorite thing were some of the, there were, like, a lot of the lines in the movie were, like, you're just lines in the movie. They were just almost filling, but there were, like, those cool lines, like the one phrase, there aren't the one phrase for like the gang or whatever. There are no friends at dusk or whatever.
Like the code.
Yeah, the code word. Or there was a bunch of little lines dotted throughout the movie that just felt good and were interesting.
Well, speaking of that code word, it reminded me of Captain America or Falcon and the Winter Soldier with the Flag Smashers, where they said,
"Yeah, it was
one world, one people."
But it wasn't really a motto. That was more like a motto. This was like a what do they call it in the military? It's called a sine cosine, basically, is what it is. Sine cosine is like, which in the military they have like sine cosine is like, we'll say eagle sunrise is the sign, and then I say it to you, you respond with something very specific. So that way, and it's given out to the soldiers so they know how to identify who's on their team. But yeah, I like that part. There were some lines, I agree, there were some lines in the movie that felt like, it made it feel like a spy movie or a military movie or something, that it gave it a feel and some atmosphere to it and some background to the whole world, which I did like. But there was also a lot of lines where it was just like,
meh.
Blah, 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 blah. What about time travel? And tell me about entropy. And it was like, But there were a lot of cool lines too. And it was like kind of just... Like it reminded me a lot of Inception, except Inception had a lot more of those cool lines and a lot less where it felt like they were.
It was just
telling you stuff.
Yeah.
The telling you stuff was a lot more like whatever. But Xavier, what else? What's maybe your last thing that you really liked about this movie?
I think we're running out of things.
Oh wait, I do. I know the food.
The food.
The food.
What do you mean the food?
Without you, hope you don't mind. I gather you have an interest in a certain... They don't seem to care. Assume you're familiar with the Soviet-era secret cities.
What food are you talking about?
The food. The food looked good.
Oh. They did have actually a fair amount of scenes, I think they did, of characters eating. I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know that
The
jumped out
beginning.
when
The beginning was more.
There was like 3 restaurant scenes.
I know the scene where they went to Michael Caine, the British guy, and he was literally like chewing and eating through, and I was like, it was noticeable. I was like, man, he's going to town on that food. He must be hungry or something. Michael Caine.
Hey, if you have so many takes, then you get hungry eventually, and you have that plate of food sitting right in front of you.
Or maybe it was just he kept doing it every take, so he was porked out by the. I think the other thing I really liked about the movie was just, like scene composition. We watched some videos about scene composition, just seeing how they set up, how the look of it feels, the lighting and everything was just very natural. It felt like it felt like you were in a real world because of that. And also like the scene composition, the way that they had stuff in the camera set up was very well put together, I think. I think the guy he worked with, I'm not sure if it's the same cinematographer, but the cinematographer he worked with on like Dark Knight and Inception is like one of the very, very best cinematographers in the world, who sets up all that stuff and makes sure like all the coloring looks a certain way. And like, that's why all his movies feel like so much like I'm in that world, because it looks just like I'm looking outside almost, versus Marvel having like that cartoon feel. Like Iron Man really feels shiny and bright and like it feels like really optimistic, and then like Justice League felt very pessimistic and dark.
And
and Kong versus Godzilla felt like fantasy because it was just such wild colors, and this just feels much more grounded completely in some reality, I think. And that's something I really enjoy.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you did, but I know Zion only watched part of the original Justice League, or the original Justice League was more of the fantasy instead of
The original did have more of those poppy colors and stuff that it wasn't as much like Iron Man. I think in some of the Marvel movies do have much more of a feel like they have much more of a feel like it's like optimistic. Just the colors, tones, and stuff. Like you think about Thor and these things, it feels natural but kind of upbeat. But I also wonder, I'm not sure how many of them still shoot on film. I'm pretty sure this movie was shot on film, which is a huge difference. And I'm not sure if the other movies were, but I'm almost positive. I would guess that this was shot on actual film, which is such a rare thing because it's so expensive nowadays. And most people shoot completely digital, which means they do all the recoloring and stuff afterwards. So they literally, like every movie, it's not the first color, the colors that were there. It's recolored no matter what. This one feels more like they chose it because when you shoot with film, you have to like make a decision in terms of how you're going to expose it to get the colors you want. All that, see that I'm like doing like the movie now. I'm giving you guys a textbook. So what do you guys say? How about for your grade for this movie? What would you say for Tenet?
B, maybe B plus.
Okay. I'd say B minus maybe.
I think we're all in the same spot. I agree. It's not an A. It's not as good as... I think if we get a chance, we might have to watch Dark Knight again and really see, because I like Christopher Nolan's movies. Dark Knight, Inception. What's the one, the space one that I really like a lot? It's not Stargate. What's the one where they... Interstellar. He also directed that.
That was a really good movie. I like that one.
And again, he has a certain style, the way everything looks and feels real and stuff. So I like it because it feels like a film. It doesn't feel like a movie.
Although all of his, besides the Dark Knight, because that was like DC, they feel like almost kind of human theories, like time travel or creating different realms. Or the whole black hole thing. Yeah.
I think for this movie, I would have had it pegged as like a low C when it first started. But at the end, I was back on it. When it got to that ending, I was like, oh, okay, you did something with this. But I do feel like at times... It felt like, I think I commented, it felt like they thought of a really cool scene, and then like, how do we build a story around this cool special effects scene? This backwards car driving. How can we build a movie around this?
It was a very roller coaster of a movie.
Yeah.
Like, how do we build a story around this cool walking backwards thing? Why don't we just throw in time travel?
Yeah, and I think they did. That's what it felt like sometimes that they were doing was just like this. And later, that's why at the end when they kind of pulled it together, but it still feels like they stitched things together instead of things being just together already. Yeah. But it was still, at the end, I was pulled in and like, maybe I'll watch it again and see it again, see how good it is, I guess. So yeah, I would say in the B range for me. But yeah, that's it, I think, for Tenet. So do you guys have anything that you want to say beyond that about this movie? Anything, any recommendations?
Like and subscribe, I guess, and then comment for any other movies.
What would be another movie you'd recommend that's in the same vein as this?
Interstellar.
One movie recommendation that you would say, hey, if you like this, you'll like Tenet.
If you'd liked Inception.
Okay, why?
Because...
Same director.
Well, not just that. It feels like it's the same feel, almost. Like, they take different concepts and make it kind of interesting. I think Inception did a better job of that, but...
Okay.
I mean, personally, I think it's a bit tough not to enjoy this movie. Like I said, the beginning parts were like a tad bit on the slow side. They were just kind of there, but towards the end, like, it's kind of hard not to watch it, and like you kind of become hooked. The hook wasn't like super early in the movie. The hook comes in later in the movie, but then once you like get to like that middle of the movie spot, you're like hooked and you want to just keep watching it.
Okay.
So I think
that's fair.
Most movies, like
most movies, you're out or you're in before that time. It doesn't. It's not able to pull you back.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be a movie you'd recommend in a similar vein, do you think? I agree with Inception. I think that's a thinking movie. This movie does take some thought to get around. What do you think would be another recommendation? If you like that, you'll like this.
probably Interstellar. I think it's sort of a similar vein of movie. I mean, obviously directed by the same person, so.
Okay, there's some time travel elements. I think if I had to recommend a movie to anybody similar to this, I think you want to go see Primer. That was a movie from 2004, I think, 2003, 2004.
Look how old this guy is.
And Primer, we haven't watched that. Primer is one of the coolest time travel movies you'll ever see. I think it owes something to this in terms of like a movie that you have to watch a few times because it was a really cool time travel movie, and it was made for $7,000 back then.
Well, I'd say
7,000.
Yeah,
I'd say
it's a really, for what it is, it's an amazing movie.
this one is going to be a bit out there because it's not a thinker, but I'd say go watch Back to the Future because that's another time travel movie. That one's an easier movie to watch though because it's just funny.
It's sort of, yeah. It's sort of like you said. It's more of like like a colorful take on the time travel thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
It's
this
brighter.
one was sort of that. It was more of like a thinking version of the time travel concept.
And that's where I think Primer is like that. It's similar to that. Like, and it's probably even a little bit stronger in terms of like the threads that come through and connecting everything. Whereas this one had some gaps. But so that's our recommendations. Our grade of about a B, we'll say. And yeah, this is Movie Masterminds. And of course, we want to make sure that you guys
Like, comment, subscribe.
comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. We might be back on our Marvel kick next time. Other than that, yeah, keep watching movies.
Clap.
We don't have the clapboard here.
Action.
What the heck?
What's up with you guys? Let's watch Tenet.
We were so close.
You're so
You were trying to act so casual, but it just messed up with like, what's up with you guys? Whatever. That's what did it.
It's hard to have. Action. All right. Movie time.
Really? You had to do that? I don't think we can trust Daddy to be an actor.
Let's watch Tenet. Movie time.
You're kidding, right?